Hey, very good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and this is Sean. This is Alex, and we are listening to a new podcast episode of Coaster Kings Radio. Today we're going to be talking about the most amazing American Dream Mall, which is still half empty.
The American Dream Meadowlands project in New Jersey.
Home
to, among other cultural exploits, the Nickelodeon Universe theme park, the second location.
Yep. The DreamWorks Water Park.
Oh, the DreamWorks Water Park.
Both are heavily priced, but are they worth the admission? Well, we haven't even been to the water park, but we're going to be talking about Nickelodeon Universe today.
Yeah.
Which this is the second of three. So there's already one in South America. I'm sure all heard of it. The OG over in Minnesota. And then this is the second one, which is in New Jersey. And this is kind of like an upscale version with bigger rides. And then there's another one under construction in Chongqing in China, which is going to break the record for longest and most inverting indoor roller coaster. 3 intimate coasters, including an intimate spinner, kind of like Tornado at Bakken, kind of making a
so exciting
second appearance, but in China. So one day we'll get there, but today we're flying our merry little asses from Orlando.
Talking about the second
to New Jersey.
It was a whirlwind trip. We flew in and out same day.
Yeah, we were only there for a few hours.
Yeah.
But so pretty much we found really good airfare on JetBlue, and if JetBlue tells you that you can fly to Newark for $21, you're going to do it.
Yeah.
That's just like too good to be true. So we did that.
Like, we work in the travel industry. I work for the airlines. Like, I'm happy to support
other
airlines. I don't work for JetBlue, but I love JetBlue. We took Spirit home. Love Spirit. Price is right.
We like Spirit. I'm not going to claim I love Spirit because that will be a blatant lie.
Shut up. Spirit, you're fine. If you're listening to
really
this,
fine when they don't put someone in between us.
You have,
then we're good.
You have our respect because you have a good product for the price. Anyway.
But anyway, so we flew to Newark. We got there at like 11. The park didn't open till 1. So we were like, okay, well, let's get an Uber over to American Dream and have some lunch.
Yeah, first of all, you would think that like taking public transportation would be easier or faster or cheaper than just taking a Uber, but it's really not.
Like a little patriotic song. Doon, 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 America.
Yeah, it's like you would think. I had in my mind. Like, I've taken the New Jersey Transit before, and for some reason I just assumed that there was a New Jersey Transit station, like, in the mall, and it's not.
Would that be nice, though? That would make complete sense. Like,
I kind of felt like, because you can transfer from the New York subway to New Jersey Transit a couple of ways in Manhattan, and I used to do that for work periodically, so I thought, like, wow, this is so convenient. It's really not that convenient. Well, I mean, it's convenient in the sense that it's a cheap Uber. Cheap and quick Uber, whether you're coming from Newark or if you're taking the New Jersey Transit to the Secaucus station, which is one of the first stops after you cross Hudson Bay into New Jersey proper. But in any case, getting to the park is easy, and it's actually, I think the cheapest way is also the path of least resistance, which is to just take an Uber.
Yeah. It was like $23 to get there, which wasn't bad.
Yeah.
And you get like a view of Manhattan on the way there, so that's kind of cute.
Yeah, it was a nice drive.
So pulled up there. Mall is nice, so we'll kind of dive right into like the mall itself. Gave us mad
First
China
impressions,
vibes.
It reminded us very fondly of the less than occupied shopping malls, the mega malls in China.
Like it was very modern, very clean.
Like
lots
for better
of light,
or for worse,
light.
We were nostalgic for China on the onset of being here.
The mall itself has not really an issue, but you can still see that there's still tenants coming in. But they did a good job of covering that up.
And there's lots of potential. And in a couple of years, I think it'll be really full steam ahead. They've got some fabulous assets there. I mean, the theme park. I mean, they really have a lot of it organized in clusters of entertainment. They have the Merlin corner with the Legoland Discovery Center, which is like a family entertainment center version of Legoland, and the Sea Life Aquarium. So that's on one side, and then there's an additional cluster with the DreamWorks water park, the Nickelodeon Universe amusement park, and the 3-story flagship It's Sugar retail store with the Statue of Liberty made out of jelly beans, and an ice skating rink over on that side, and then a nice 3-story corridor of shopping, dining, and atriums of some nice foliage and gardens, and there was even some. They were taking it down actually as we were there, but they had some Christmas decorations still up that were nice. But really aesthetically on point, really like again, so much potential, and like not far from the mark at all on any of their initial whack at it. So
when we first got there, it was cool, and then we had a couple minutes, like a half hour to an hour before park opening. So we actually hit up this place called Pora Ramen, which is in the third floor food court in the D section of the mall, which you can see the water slides from there. Actually, it was kind of cool from the food court. That was kind of like the only real place to get food. So like that's definitely the downside of American Dream currently.
They don't have
there
single
are no table service restaurants that are there.
They've got a lot of, and even a lot of their food options are kind of snacks. Like
because even after we like left the park, we had enough time to get dinner somewhere before going to the airport. But there was like no option in the entire mall to have like a meal. So we ended up having acai bowl and pretzel. Which like wasn't my idea of like a good ending.
There's a lot of places to get ice cream and frozen yogurt and
it feels very much like the whole mall is still like an attraction, like a theme parky kind of place. But it has yet to fully flesh out the mall part of it. But it has potential, and I really do think they'll get there. Like it was one of the funnest trips we've had.
It was really our first thing of 2021, and it was a great start to our year.
And so we'll just dive right into the theme park now. So we got there. How the ticketing system works for those who aren't familiar with it, you have to, generally speaking, on busy days, there are 2 time slots. They're usually 4 hours each. And then on the weekends, I think it's like $85 for a 4-hour window. And you have to be there at like, if you want to use that window, you can't like
you have to
show up late. You have to show up early or like
11 to 3.
No matter what, your time slot ends when your time slot ends, no matter when you arrive. So I always advise, like, if you're going to go travel there, make sure that you can get there before your time slot so you don't waste any money by and being in transit.
Isn't it sort of like it's 11 to 3 and then 4 to 8 and between 3 and 4 is kind of like the flushing out window where like everyone with their wristbands for the 11 o'clock session like finish up, and because again, obviously at the stroke of 3, everyone that's still in line for a ride is still entitled to that ride. But I think that's why there's a gap there. But there's no entry and exit. This is a much different beast than Nickelodeon Universe at Mall of America. Although that Nickelodeon Universe has made some changes in the wake of COVID. They now have a $5 like cover charge. For lack of a better word, used to be free entry and exit. It's right in the heart of the Mall of America. With entrances on all sides,
on like the end of a wing.
Whereas this is much more compartmentalized. There's one entrance, one exit, pay one price, and there's no. You can't come and go. You can't leave Nick Universe and go back into the mall and then go back into Nick Universe. It's
like one entry only. So there are some food locations within. Pretty simple grab and go stuff. I didn't mind it. Like I had some food. And
it's kind of almost like an airport. You kind of have like airport food, wraps and stuff and.
But yeah, if you're looking to go for like a little bit cheaper, try to do it like a weekday.
So worth it
because
on a weekday.
On the weekday, there, especially right now, off-season-ish time, there are just one time slot a day. So like your time slot is the operating hours,
1 to 7,
and that's also nice because the price is also lower. So then you can get 6 hours for like $60, versus 4 hours
like $1 an hour.
$85.
It's $10 an hour instead of like $20 an hour,
which is definitely a better deal.
And
it wasn't crowded at all.
It wasn't crowded. Nice. Operations were great.
You walked onto everything.
Everything was a walk on. I mean, I feel like we really lingered. We did a whole lap around the park. We took some pictures. We took our time.
We lingered quite a bit because we did one lap to get all the credits. Then we sat for like an hour because one
of the coasters knocked us on our butts.
Yeah, we don't
want to get ahead of ourselves. We'll get on that later. But yeah.
And then we did another lap of coasters, another lap of rides, and then we did another lap of photos to hang out a little bit more. And then we left, and we literally only spent 3 hours there.
It was 4 hours, wasn't it?
Well, we got there 1, and I think we left around 4, so that's 3 hours. In the park.
Yeah, I guess so. We spent 4 hours inside of the mall.
Yeah.
So we had buffer on either end. So we weren't even in the gates. So if the time slots seem a little crazy, it's actually not as outrageous as at least it seemed to us.
It's pretty
on the outside.
Sure.
Because it's not a park that's really built for lingering for that reason. Like you don't really go there to
you must understand that the park, though large because of their massive roller coasters, the actual midway space is
quite small.
I would say even smaller than MOA still.
And like they don't have a true restaurant. Like we said, really that's not even something the mall has. But it's not the kind of place where you want to go and like where you feel the need to like sit with like a meal and linger. The only reason we did is because we had time. It was so quiet. We got on our ride so quickly. I mean, it took us 45 minutes to ride every coaster and ride at least once that we were interested in. So the pressure was off. Even though we were flying back out that evening, it's like we didn't need to be back at the airport till around like 6:30.
Yeah, a little before that.
So even if we left the airport, or even if we left the mall like an hour and a half before the end of our time slot, we realized pretty quick, within like an hour of being in the park, that the pressure was off as far as getting things done in a timely manner. So it was a really pleasant, relaxing day for us. It was just having a good meal before, like eating your lunch before, which makes sense because the time slot started at 1. So they really expect people to have had lunch, go into the park, and then leave, before they have dinner, and everything else is supplementary. So yeah, go have a good meal before you go. Because that could be the only thing where I've thought like, wow, if you really wanted like a full meal, you were kind of trapped in this park. Like you can't leave the mall to get food options and come back in. And stuff. So yeah, if you play their game, if you do it the way they've designed it, it works.
So we'll kind of start with how you approach. So you'll go to the theme park, and then you should probably get your tickets online, but you can get them there as well if you'd like.
I like how you're on the second story. Like the theme park is
you look right into the theme park, so you're like above.
Really, the whole mall starts on the second story because it's parking all underneath
except
on ground
for
level.
The theme park and the water park.
So only the theme park and the water park and parking are on ground level, and then the 3 stories of shopping are all like the second, third, and fourth level. Yeah.
So the cool thing is that you come in, and it's a very modern kind of process. Almost feels resorty. Like you walk in, you have your reservations, they scan it, they give you wristbands. But like you all kind of get spaced out to like different. This is like people standing around. Like it was very satisfying, open, modern, resorty
Lots of staff
approach.
On hand, very smooth customer service.
You get a little locker wristband, which I love that. So you get a little locker wristband with an RFID on it, and then you go into the park. They check your wristbands one more time, and you see Manhattan right in front of you, which is really cool. And then you go down the escalators, and you spit out right at Slime Streak, and that's where the entrance is. For your park. It's not where you exit, that's where you entrance.
And the jellyfish themed wave swinger are sort of the entrance plaza. They have a large
That's also where they have a gift store
that's under construction that's under the Slime Streak station.
So that's kind of where you enter. It's a really easy, neat process.
The lockers are amazing because the staff had told us that the lockers aren't. She said the lockers aren't free, but here's your wristband if you want to buy them. But I don't know.
It may be a weekend thing because they were all free for us.
They were free for the first hour, and all the coasters and stuff had them. And the park is so tiny that like you could drop your stuff off at any locker and still feel close to it.
Ride everything.
So as far as on a practical level for us, the lockers were included. So.
It was nice because we just like would walk up with our little wristband. There was no like ticket holding. Like it was really simple. It was like the old smart locker systems that Six Flags used to have. The light blue ones, and then you just tap it. It's a single opening though, so don't mistake them for like all the other ones that are theme parks nowadays.
But it was just nice. Like going into it, there was this feeling of like, is this going to feel like it was a good value? And when things like lockers are included in this way. It does, because I think about like I spend money on lockers.
Yeah, we all, especially when we travel. It's like I don't want to take a risk of losing anything when I'm away from home. Like it's just
we have a nice, well, not a nice camera, but we have a camera that we wouldn't want to get stolen because we don't want to pay to replace something like that.
Editing skills to make it seem like a nice
camera. We don't have that nice of a camera setup, but it's still a few $100s that we'd be out if we had to replace our setup. So. We really don't like to. Plus, I just like putting stuff in the locker, especially when the rides don't have any lines. There was no lines, so it's not like putting stuff in your locker and then waiting in a 2-hour line for something without your phone. Which I get that, like for a lot of people,
that's a lot.
It's So, it's just nice. Let's see. Where do we want to start?
I guess we'll start right where we enter Slime Streak.
That was the first credit we got. That's right.
Guys, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like, I really am disappointed with Morgan Chance, whatever, who made
Morgan
that.
is dead now, but it's technically a chance.
Like, come on, guys. Like, you really have to be this pathetic. Okay, so long story short, the ride hurts like hell. It's really dumb. It's a pretty large-sized ride. It almost feels like the size of West Coaster in Santa Monica.
West Coaster is kind of
But then imagine riding on, like, these little kiddie coaster trains that they have on their smallest models.
Yeah.
Like, unbearably small.
The Chance Big Dipper trains. So like,
I was in so much pain. Well, this thing flies over there.
Joker's
like,
Funhouse Coaster at Six Flags Over Georgia, or like the Wile E. Coyote coaster at Six Flags Over Texas. Six Flags Over Texas is kiddie coaster. They don't even let adults ride, and I think that's probably why, because it's just like vehicles are just so uncomfortable.
Yeah, so the ride goes 60 kilometers an hour.
It's not a kiddie ride.
It's not a kiddie
really
ride.
Not.
Like, it flies through that layout. It is 385 meters long.
It's a handsome ride.
It's 21 meters tall. Like, it is a good. It is a big ride, really. For
it's
like
more
kiddies.
intense than like any like. It's more than just like a mine train or anything, like that. Like it hauls. It's kind of their hood ornament for this whole operation. So it's
the first thing you see when you come in.
It's just unfortunate that, I mean, I guess we're taller than average. There's probably a lot of adults who ride this ride without any issue, but for us, we were like, what the hell, guys? Yeah. The other issue was just that the ride is built with one train. There's no transfer. There's nothing. It's an awfully large ride.
It'll get pretty big
and
lines
time consuming, especially with social distancing. The most that this ride can hold is 20 passengers per dispatch. The most that it normally holds, on average, with social distancing and seat gaps, is probably between like 8 and 12 passengers. So I've heard horror stories of people trying to hit this credit on weekends and blowing 45 hours or 45 minutes,
blowing 3 whole days at the mall.
45 minutes getting this credit. On this ride, that's not even a comfortable experience. So
yeah, let's just move on.
It was a good one to start with
because like it really sucked.
It was a good one to start with because our day only got better from there.
That was like pretty much the biggest sucky thing. So then we moved over. Real quick.
Oh yeah, we have to talk about Sandy.
Was not open. I mean, like,
damn it, Sandra,
like get your shit
Sandra,
together.
get it together.
Unfortunately, that ride was not open. It looked really cool, but it had already been down for 8 days.
It had been down for a week,
and it's still down when we're recording.
It's still down as of this recording.
8 days later. So,
in fact, the latest that I'm hearing from there's actually a Facebook group, Nickelodeon Universe, American Dream Connoisseurs. Because there's a connoisseurs group for everything. And the latest on Sandra is that she needs parts from overseas. So COVID is obviously not allowing that to happen expeditiously. The last that this ride ran was like New Year's weekend, and it hasn't been open since. You can even check the website to check the operating status of their rides, and that changes on like an hourly basis. Like if rides are down for very temporary maintenance, like it will reflect on the Wayne website, and when it's up again, that's reflected as well. So if you're curious, you can always check on the status of Sandra and the other more fickle and COVID unfriendly attractions like the Legends of the Hidden Temple ropes course by visiting the American Dream Nickelodeon Universe website and clicking attraction status.
Yeah, park alert.
Yeah, park alerts. Yeah.
So what the next ride was, the really wanted to get the credit for, was going to be the giant Gerstlauer Eurofighter. A clone of Takabisha that we've ridden in Fujikyu Highland in Japan,
the Gerstlauer
is themed
1,000-meter
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Mm-hmm. It's the first time I said that the correct order.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
You've heard it here first.
Shellraiser.
Okay, so the layout is really, really magnificent. The fact that they put it indoor is kind of weird because it's really big.
It's really a massive. I mean, we loved Takabisha. Takabisha kind of got overshadowed by some of the other rides at Fuji-Q. We're probably not the only ones that feel that way, but we're definitely Ijunaika and Fujiyama
kind of people
stands, and so
there's a couple things here that I want to address first. The parts I didn't like.
Yeah.
So one thing I didn't like is that Takabisha is built to be like in a building where the station where the pre-launch is like in the dark. So like the little drops and the inversion.
And there's even a little indoor bit right before you take that right U-turn into the lift hill. Like don't you re-enter?
Yeah, you re-enter the building.
So it definitely feels like.
And so when they put it in the mall, and the first half, which is clearly meant to be indoor.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a surprise.
Yeah, it was like completely kind of.
There's lots of Gerstlauers that have this like pre-lift or pre-launch sequence with a barrel roll indoor. Like a lot of Gerstlauers do this.
It's it's kind of like a trade.
So it kind of it's a trade secret for Gerstlauer. It's something that fans love it. Like it gets a lot of positive feedback. Obviously, there's a lot of theme parks that were like, wait, that's a really clever move. But yeah,
that being inside, like out in the open, was kind of weird.
It was just random. It just doesn't. Yeah.
And then the biggest problem,
big glaring issue,
is the fact that the front car of a Shellraiser literally hurts like a mother effer.
It feels like a shock absorber for the back row.
Like it's not like a rough kind of like shaking. It is just very. It's like a pulsing, like a hammering kind of like.
It's potholes. It
yeah,
feels
you just like keep hitting.
It feels like the worst is at the bottom of the large drop. This pothole at the bottom of the drop is unbelievable.
There's several moments where like it feels like your brain is being like shaken apart.
It feels like you're getting punched in the spine. Like you're gonna. It feels like you're gonna slip a disc.
God, my head hurts so bad. It was like migraine inducing.
It's the TMMT disc slipper.
It was by far, I think, the most painful when it comes to like headaches of a coaster.
And like we love our rough vintage loopers and our arrows and our Vacomas and stuff. And what we're not a fan of is like vibrating stuff. We don't like stuff that feels like it's not running the way it was intended when it comes to a wheel bogey track relationship.
Luckily, in the back row, that was much better. Though.
This ride was like neither. It was not. It didn't vibrate so much, and it wasn't about the transitions. It in the sense like the directional changes of the ride, but the transitions between track pieces.
Yeah, you can even see when you're in them all. Like, take a look when you go. There's like pieces of the ride, like the ride's green, or the track is, and there's pieces where it's just completely gray. Like the ride just like chafed off all the paint. There's like parts, it hits some of these corners.
Yeah, there's parts of the track that are not agreeing with the wheel assemblies, and they've already scraped the paint.
And it was a complete 180 from Takabishi, because Takabishi was smooth as could be. It was like probably my favorite Gerslauer, because I haven't been on Carolyn yet. But so that was kind of weird. But it also may have to do with the fact that this whole park is pretty much one giant footer. So you got to think about it this way. All supports, and it looks really weird when you stand right next to it, all supports are like buried in the same concrete flat bed that the park is located in. So all the rides felt very rough, and like they all shook like crazy. Like if you stand there, like the amount of shaking on these tracks, it's unusual. But it kind of makes sense, because like the shocks of anything that moves in that park then also affects the support of another coaster. Yeah. Because they're pretty much every single support shares one giant footer with the rest of the park. Yeah. And that feeling, like that's a characteristic that is just really unique for just some indoor parks, and it really makes rides track like crap, because like they're just always shaking. Like the whole thing is shaking at all times.
Gerslauer can be hit or miss as far as execution and fulfillment goes. Like there's great Gerslauers out there, and then there's some that are just so bad. And I guess if you're wondering like how this happened with this particular round of Gerslauers, that's the only explanation we could come up with. The only thing we could glean from what makes the circumstances of these rides different from others is the way that they were constructed from the ground up as one conjoined piece. Because like the Shredder, which has is the Gerslauer spinner that's intertwined with Shellraiser, has a fabulous layout. Such a great ride. We enjoyed it. We rode it three times. We rode it 3 times. Yeah. Fabulous ride. I would love to see Fuji-Q clone it and put it around Takabisha, but that probably won't happen. But it does not. Again, it doesn't track like it should.
And before we move over to Shredder, I just want to make one more note about Shellraiser, and that's that the rides there are really particularly located so you can feel Manhattan, because it's like literally across the river from Manhattan. Yeah. So even though it's kind of weird for them to have this giant Takabishi clone inside, the cool thing is that the drop, the Beyond Vertical 121 degree drop, actually faces directly towards Manhattan. And the break there is much longer than Takabishi. You sit there for a good 4 or 5 seconds, if not longer, before you take the drop. And the cool thing is that you really do have a complete view, like a panoramic view, all glass, of Manhattan. And then you dive. And then since the drop is so incredibly steep, you actually are above the spinning coaster. And then you completely dive and circumnavigate the spinning coaster drop. So integration-wise, it was really cool. Like, just views and integration were like the highlight of that attraction, even though like it didn't track that well at all.
It was enough that we rode it. We rode it like 4 times, twice in the front and twice in the back.
Yeah, it was one of those things like I just wanted to like it more, so we kept riding it. But just thinking about it, my head hurts.
Yeah, riding in the back it's actually good enough to ride it more than once, but in the front, it's it would be a one and done. Another ride that like their Skyline Scream SNS combo tower has a circular ride vehicle, so it starts out as a space shot, and then it brings you up to the top, and you do a full rotation.
So it locks you in, then it becomes like a bit of an observation tower.
Fabulous, yeah.
Move around, you see
fabulous all of views of
Manhattan
everything.
And New Jersey, with the mall, and then you also have some characters up there. Like it's really
you can get a cool view of the mall. Like the mall looks really neat, and the stadium, like the whole Meadowlands complex. So That's we rode that twice just because, like, the not very intense even by the standards of an S&S tower, but like a cool experience and very unique to the park and one of their most successful attractions overall, I think, in terms of like concept and execution.
And then we also rode, before we even got to Shredder, we rode Timmy's Half Pipe Havoc.
Yeah.
Which is just a really new version of the U-Shuttle Intamin Surf Rider.
Yeah.
It was actually really fun. I like the restraints on it.
It's pretty much identical to the Avatar Airbender at Nickelodeon Universe at Mall of America.
Except for it has the new age restraints on it.
But it has over-the-shoulder lap bars, like Sandy's Bucking Bronco, Velocicoaster, Taron. Like, so it's a cool asset. Fun ride. Spun a little too much for me, unlike unlike Shredder, which spun a lot too much for me. Our experience, I don't know what we were thinking.
Okay, well, let's move right into it. So we're like, okay, so Timmy's Havoc, whatever, is real cute, but it's just another surf rider.
Yeah.
And then we were like, well, I was personally most excited for Shredder because it is a really long ride, and it had already been at Takabisha, so this was going to be like the big long ride that was actually open for us. Mm-hmm. And so we were dumb, and because like usually speaking, we like to sit on the same side of a spinning coaster.
We just always sit next to each other, and we expect spinning coasters to not spin as much as we would want.
Barely spin at all. If we don't sit on the same side.
Yeah.
So we're like, okay, let's sit on the same side, and that way at least we'll spin.
Yeah. Our experience on Gershflower spinners, it's always like, well, let's take the opportunity to sit together if they'll let us, and we'll spin. But our ride on the Shredder was too much.
We spun so much.
Even the staff, when we came into the station, they were all
like, "Are you okay? Like, you spun so much."
They were like, "You spun a lot."
Like, you were just continuously spinning, and everyone was like looking at us like, "What did you guys just do?"
Yeah.
And it was like I've never spun that much. I was like sick.
In tears. Like, it really.
Like, I was like, we had to sit down for a good hour.
We were on the edge of queasiness for the rest of the day. Like,
yeah, I felt like
I never completely overcame the nausea.
It was the first time ever that I felt that shitty at a theme park. Like, I had people always talk about like getting nauseous on roller coasters. Yeah. I'm like, it doesn't apply to me.
I couldn't relate.
I am not in that boat, but like Shredder put me in that boat.
I felt like it didn't. After we finished the ride, like it didn't stop spinning for me. Like for
oh my god, my head it still spins. And then like another thing is like the inside climate control there, they had the heaters on. It was just freaking hot inside. Yeah. We had hoodies on because it's winter and we're in New Jersey. And like we had to take our hoodies off because like it was just warm. Like it was honestly not a good environment to feel nauseous in. There was no fresh airflow. I really kind of felt like I was in this bubble and I was really overheated. And I was like,
we were kind of like in a greenhouse.
I'll be honest, like I wish they had more airflow in there. Like it is a really big indoor area, but I really felt like it was pretty stagnant.
Stagnant air.
It was not a perfect place for someone who was nauseous, but that's not really, that's besides the point.
It's ironic because of how many of the rides there are like truly nauseating. Like so many of their rides.
Yeah, they love spinning shit there.
Lots of spinny rides.
But yeah, anyways, but that was pretty wild. But then we came back later and we rode it a couple times, sitting like opposite sides. And they do this weird thing where they allow you to like stretch your legs out. So even though it's like literally shin guards
with
from
like our feet in the seat of like directly across from us.
So the train was like completely
balanced. So we rode it twice with that configuration,
and it was a really fun ride.
Enjoyable.
It's long, like, really long.
It feels not unlike the Gershflower spinner developed for the Nick Universe at Mall of America, but just way blown up, longer, amplified.
There's like 5 or 6 mid-course break runs,
and the operations again were great. There was constantly 3 vehicles like in action.
Yeah, they were running 4 on it, which is nice.
And yeah, really the paint job is fabulous. Like it's a really awesome compliment to Shellraiser.
And when they're both running, it's so exciting because like I mean, it's like near misses how close the
it's almost a dueling coaster. Like there's these really moments where the interactivity between the rides is, very impressive.
Yeah, I'll say right now that
a highlight.
Shredder is by far their best attraction there. Like I am not afraid to say it.
Yeah,
well, I know we haven't ridden Sandy.
Love Sandy,
but Sandy is a little short.
But Sandy, as huge fans of Intamin LSM coasters,
I'm sure we'll love it.
We'll really I'm sure we'll like it, and we'll hold our criticisms until then. But for now, we would say Shredder has a lot going for it as such as a large, lengthy, custom ride. And we're huge fans of like the Gershflower bobsleigh coasters that you'll find all throughout Europe, and this ride layout definitely reminded us of that. You don't think so?
No, I would agree with that. In fact, I'm looking at pictures of it right now, and it almost looks like the next level, like skyrocket. You know how like every manufacturer has to do their like compact, multi-launch look thingy.
Just Sandra.
And I'm like really incredibly excited to eventually ride it. But just like all the other rides I'm hearing, it has like the shaky issue.
Apparently it rattles, it vibrates, it has a bad fiberglass.
Just another one of those. I'm sharing the concrete with every other coaster here.
Even the half pipe rattled more than like
it should.
The one at Mall of America.
And it was a bit of a turn off. I mean, we really liked the park and we had a good time. And
I look forward to going back.
It was really polished. There was landscaping inside. The staff was really exciting. Like the staff was all really nice and they were
fabulous,
stoked, and they were like, "Oh my god, you're close enthusiastic."
The theming, nice. All of the statues, all the scenes and figures of the different characters. The park is like built for Instagram. Every entrance, every marquee for every ride is actually like a photo spot. So, like, people were actually queuing up to take photos. Like, there's the Blue Skidoo ride, and there's, like, the thinking chair with the side table drawer, like, as part of the ride's marquee. And people were, like, waiting in line to take pictures of each other in front of it. There's just great cameo appearances from, like, Hey Arnold, for example, does not have his own ride. But Hey Arnold's statue can be found at the entrance to Skyline Scream. He's riding Skyline Scream with Korra,
and usually you can sit in those test seats with them. But
right now it's closed off COVID.
But
there is a Ren and Stimpy ride, you guys. Like, I never have in my wildest dreams would I have thought a theme park, set for the 2020s. Would have a Ren and Stimpy, and it's a kiddie ride. It's one of those spinning frog hopper type rides, very popular in Europe. I've ridden them in kiddie parks, and like there's, I think Fantasialand has it.
And then there's one ride that's absolutely, we cannot forget to talk about it.
Oh, yeah.
Dora's Sky Railway. So how it's set up is like you take a big giant elevator, it's themed to a balloon that brings you to the station where the train is at. I'm sure this is some sort of reference to the actual show. Yeah. And then you board this blue little train, and you take that blue train around the mall.
It's like a monorail elevator.
Unfortunately, we weren't allowed to take a camera.
They wouldn't let us take our camera with it,
which is really dumb. So did we even take our phone? I can't recall. We did.
Yeah, we didn't. I mean, it wasn't. The views weren't so spectacular. It wasn't so much.
It would have been nice to take photos of stuff from up there. But it was just a really fun ride. Though. I still enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And then they have one of these. Zamperla mini discoveries,
the looping
which like does
discoveries
the inversion.
That's also themed to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Which is like a really cool light package.
Great light package.
And then it had a
Jimmy Neutron themed Chance Unicoaster.
Chance Unicoaster, that's right. That's
which is also what Mall of America's Nick Universe also
I wanted to ride that, and I wanted to ride the Avatar Airbender Air Race, but I was just too nauseated from Shredder still, so we actually kind of sat out
the Avatar
most
Air Race
flat rides.
is beautiful, and
they have some really intense
like
things
the centerpiece of the whole park is the Air Race themed to Avatar. The Reptar Carousel,
so that was really cute.
It was amazing to me how many kiddie rides in the park were themed to shows that are really only applicable to like the over 30s. Like I love that because it's people who grew up with these shows that are taking their kids here. So like the Ren and Stimpy Frog Hopper type ride themed to Space Madness, which is a really famous episode of Ren and Stimpy. And it's just crazy because like Ren and Stimpy's not for children. Like even when we were children watching Ren and Stimpy on the air, it was not. It was a little too raunchy and over the top for even the audience that supposedly was the target audience.
Well, another cool thing I guess kind of plays in with that statement is the fact that all the kiddie rides are like spread out throughout the park. Yeah. So it's not like a lot of theme parks with like kiddie area and adult area. Like everything is interwoven together. Like there'll be like a kiddie ride and right next to like one of the most intense flat rides. And it was actually kind of refreshing.
There's like a kiddie SNS Scream and Swing that's like under construction next to Timmy's Half Pike Havoc. There's a couple of Paw Patrol kiddie rides that are still under construction. I guess that was one thing that was also noticeable was that the park, for having already been open for a year, there was definitely a lot of work in progress things happening, which I mean, we can cut them some slack given the circumstances with COVID, but there's just some stuff that I was a little surprised wasn't complete yet. And I can only imagine that not completing some of these projects that weren't ready for opening day was less about being able to complete these projects and more about wanting to spend the money on completing everything that wasn't ready, given the financial severity of the situation. Another thing that was noticeable was the Invader Zim looping bumper car ride.
Was that what they were? I couldn't quite tell what they were.
I remember seeing them on IAPA, but they were like bumper cars that you could do flips and stuff. It's the Invader Zim something of doom, and then like it has the marquee for the attraction next to Sandy's bucking bronco, and then the ride is there with the queue and everything, and it's already kind of hidden, and there's bathrooms in front of it. So really, it's kind of ironic that this is the ride that, for whatever technical problems, never opened, and is currently just kind of being swept under the rug because you wouldn't know it was there.
Yeah, you couldn't tell
if you weren't looking for it, and if the marquee didn't kind of give it away. But there really isn't a lot of explanation either. It's not listed as an attraction. It's not listed as an attraction that's closed. Like the Paw Patrol Ferris wheel that's part of a hard hat zone for a different Paw Patrol ride that's under construction now.
That's definitely one of the weird things about this park.
Temporarily closed.
Is that like, hey, there's like 4 or 5 Paw Patrol rides and they're all kind of spread out, and then there's like 4 or 5 Teenage Mutant whatever.
Yeah.
Ninja Turtle.
There's SpongeBob rides all around too.
Yeah, that's what you said. Yeah, and then you have Paw Patrol.
I thought you said Paw Patrol. Oh, you said SpongeBob. I thought you said Paw Patrol.
And then there is. God, it's just like all these little franchises that are quite popular, like Avatar stuff, and like there's
all over.
It's all like very
it's a little
mixed.
Bleedy. My dream for a Nickelodeon theme park would be
like little neighborhoods, right? Yeah.
New York City for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which would have been a no-brainer for a park in the New York City metro.
Well, that's the whole point of like Shell Racer facing Manhattan. That's like the one thing to market on their website. It's like, through the streets of New York, and then you can see the streets of New York, that kind of stuff. So it's kind of cool.
Even though underneath the roller coasters is just concrete, but I digress.
There was definitely a chance of theming there.
Like a Bikini Bottom themed area where all of the SpongeBob rides are relocated. Like for all of the Nickelodeon themed amusement parks and areas that exist in the world. I mean, there's SpongeBob areas all over, some past and present.
The only defense for them is that like with this limited real estate, doing neighborhoods is hard because like you kind of have to just plug and play and put like the small rides in like your little plots
where it fits.
And like they fit so much in this small park, and it wouldn't have been possible if they were going to do neighborhoods. It just worked because like they were able to put a little flat right here, and a little flat right there.
There's also shows that are worth. There's shows and there's intellectual properties worth mentioning that may not maybe not justify their own themed area, like the Blue Skidoo ride, which is a classic at the Mall of America Nick Universe. Obviously, Blue's Clues is still a culturally strong intellectual property, but not something that you need an area around. So everything that they did here makes sense, I guess, with the exception of feeling like they needed 5 e-ticket roller coasters for opening year. Even though Sandy was a year late, it was intended to be part of the opening roster. In fact, Sandy's wasn't even originally supposed to be a coaster. The original concept showed a prototype Larson Loop with wing seats. So a floorless Larson Loop of sorts. And then for whatever reason, Intamin was able to convince them. I don't know how the budget constraints went with this place, because the fact that they, midway through the finalization of these plans, like as recently as 2018, the plans, including a souped-up Larson Loop, were somehow replaced with a much more expensive prototype e-ticket thrill ride from Intamin, using the top-of-the-line, state-of-the-art technology. Like, I don't know how they just had that in the budget, like how they could just afford to build another major coaster when they've already got like Shellraiser and then the other coasters, which aren't as intense and don't have inversions, but are still more intense than like a kiddie coaster per se. So the fact that they just needed another 5th major coaster in the park at all is kind of a head scratcher. But other than that, I feel like they really know exactly what they were doing with this project, and it's pretty well executed, all things considered. And I look forward to seeing the place gestate and improve on the foundation that they've laid, which is already pretty sturdy.
So yeah, I would say overall we enjoyed our time. It was good. I think that the money we spent on it, $60 a person, was acceptable.
Yeah, considering our airfare was so cheap.
It was still say $85 is a little steep for this place.
Yeah, everyone that I've talked to says like, don't bother going on a weekend.
Yeah, like really make a point of going on a weekday.
And we even asked ourselves like, how can this place afford to charge what they charge? But
I mean, we are
must not be terrible.
I mean, we are in New York. It's just
but we're in New York City, and it's
like,
that's just how it is in New York. Like things are just expensive there.
So yeah, I would say make it a trip, make it a day trip. The mall does have enough to be like multiple day right now, but I think in the future we already talked about like, oh yeah, we'll just go for like a day or two and then we'll do the water park. And
yeah, I would love to go back.
You know, if there's restaurants, then like it is a big venue.
We've heard a lot of good things about the water park, and we saw at IAPA 2019 they had a full scale, well not full scale, but a model. A miniature model of the entire project because it's 100% Pro Slide. So the entire the entire DreamWorks American Dream Water Park project was in a completely self-contained model. And we were thinking like, wow, that's like really clever. That's a neat.
Yeah, there's some PVs out there, and I really think the water park looks perhaps even like the strongest asset. Yeah. But either way, I think this is a really good. Kind of foundation for the future of the mall, because obviously the future of malls isn't necessarily shopping anymore.
But I think
they are such an entertainment center that people can go there. I mean, they have indoor skiing, like a giant ski slope.
And the ski. Yeah, I've totally forgot about that.
People could literally go there and like see a concert and like spend a day at like amusement park and like go shopping.
Water park.
It can become a multi-day destination within a few years. They're building a Sea Life Aquarium right now in the Legoland Discovery Center.
I expect them to have on-site hotels soon. Like they've got hotels around.
But like an on-site,
I expect a connected hotel,
dream,
that's connected via skywalk or just located on the roof or whatever. However, because that's what Mall of America did too. They've got some really nice hotels that are
like
inside of the airport or inside of the mall.
Inside the airport too, but yeah.
There's also the Intercontinental, but. I guess the only other thing that sticks out in my mind is like when I compare, as someone who has spent a lot of time at the Nickelodeon Universe at Mall of America, the one thing, my favorite ride at the Mall of America Nick Universe is the Paul Bunyan log flume. And there's no water rides at Nick Universe. I don't think, and I wouldn't say that it feels like it's missing.
You know what? I feel like that was a Knott's must-have.
Yeah,
because Knott's was heavily involved with the original project,
Knott's
right?
Built Camp Snoopy
inside Mall of America, so they work with 555 Group, and that's why that park looks so nice. But I think that was like a Knott's must-have because Knott's most marketable ride was definitely their log flume,
Timber Mountain log flume.
And I think that like building an indoor log flume, it's such an infrastructural nightmare that I don't think they really want to deal with. And I think that's why we're also maybe won't even see it in Chongqing either.
Yeah, I don't.
Triple Five is even involved in Chongqing.
The other thing is that they've got a water park that they need to sell to people, and if people need water rides, then that's your opportunity.
Are they adding one to Mall of America water park? That's under construction, right?
It was greenlit as like an expansion. I don't know. It's been greenlit at least once, if not twice. I know at one point. I'm pretty sure it was greenlit, and then at one point it was shelved. And then they brought it back. They have a parking garage overflow set up for Mall of America that they did want to use for a water park resort. Somewhat kind of in the same vein as Great Wolf Lodge, except that you could buy one-day passes to the water park. There's actually a Great Wolf. There is a Great Wolf Lodge next to Mall of America already, which is interesting. And it used to be called Water Park of America. As a play on words.
I'm pretty confident it'll still happen because they've been like greenlit for the whole thing for $250 million, and like every single 555 Group big
property is going to have
one,
water park.
And they're just the third to have.
Yeah, because the flagship 555 mall project, of course, the West Edmonton Mall, has served as the prototype for not only Nickelodeon Dream at American Dream, not only the prototype for the whole American Dream Meadowlands project, but for the Mall of America project as well. They took everything that they had learned with the West Edmonton Mall and applied that very effectively to Mall of America. And I expect in a few years' time for the American Dream Mall to appear as equally successful on a practical level as the projects that they've already been working on.
And speaking of projects that I think will be very successful, we've been covering a lot of Velocicoaster lately, which looks like it's definitely going to be Florida's best coaster, in my opinion, because I'm a big fan of Intamin launchers.
Yeah.
So we have lots and lots of content of that on our website, thecoasterkings.com. We like to believe we have some of the best pictures on the internet of Velocicoaster. So go check out our Florida Coaster Kings and Coaster Kings Facebook, Instagram, Twitter pages. Lots of cool stuff on there as well. We've got new merchandise, inspired by Velocicoaster on our shop. We've got a European shop, US shop.
We also have an Intamin Freefall shirt that is pretty amazing.
Yep, and an X2 shirt.
And an X2 shirt that we love.
Or an X, really.
Yeah, I guess, it's really...
It's like the old color and old name. So go check that out. Obviously, we always appreciate you guys listening. Give us a review on Google Podcast. I'm sorry, on Apple Podcasts. If that's where you're listening.
Yeah, it does
that would definitely help us out.
Yep.
Share it with your friends. Our new episodes, as you may notice, are actually shorter. We're going to have more episodes.
To your feedback, and now we're gonna have more episodes, but shorter episodes.
So you don't have to waste 3 commutes to get into the episode.
So that it doesn't take you more than an hour to
listen to our stuff.
And then for any of our longer projects, because obviously a lot of our podcasts,
there'll be
multi-part episodes. So yeah, this is
kind of fun. This is the perfect length, right?
Yeah. Covering just a single event or trip.
And speaking of Velocicoaster, we're actually about to bounce and go hit up some rides at Universal Orlando Resort this evening.
Maybe it'll test.
Know. I mean, we have a lot of testing pictures, but we want to get more. Always.
You can never have too much footage of this ride.
So thank you guys so much again for being followers. We're back, and we're so excited to have you along for the ride for this season. And we'll go ahead and end the episode. Bye.
Bye.